Welcome back into the Gridiron segment, everybody. I am Kyle. I am joined, of course, by Mike. We are going to be talking about all things NFL football. Who is on the hot seat for coaches? Who is critical to their team's success? Not just MVPs, but also how important is Brock Purdy to the San Francisco 49ers? All that and more coming up on the Gridiron. Welcome back into the Gridiron segment, everybody. My name is Kyle. I'm joined by Mike. We are going to be talking about the NFL, a little bit of Week 12 fallout. The Chiefs getting a sneaky win against a not-so-good Panthers team, and the 49ers absolutely falling apart against the Green Bay Packers. Before we get into all that, I have got to shout out our amazing sponsor at Vivid Seats. Look, the NFL season is rapidly approaching playoffs. That means your favorite team might only have a few games left, like me. The Bears, they're not going to the playoffs, so I only have a few more opportunities to go to Vivid Seats and buy some tickets and subject myself to the abject torture that is watching the Chicago Bears play football. They are inventing new ways every week to lose in disastrous fashion, and I can go watch it in person if I go to Vivid Seats, and I can save a whole bunch of money if I use the link in our description. Get yourself to Vivid Seats and go sit vividly. It is not just sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, you name it, they got you. Thank you so much to Vivid Seats for sponsoring this episode. Now, we have got to talk just a little bit about the week that was. Week 12, we're going to jump right into it. The Chiefs seemingly back doing their weird crap. I don't know what kind of rituals they got going on in the pregame, but they just keep winning in the closest, weirdest games that you have ever seen. I never thought that the Bryce Young-led Panthers would be taking the Chiefs down to the wire. The Chiefs end up winning 30-27. It just feels like the same old story, and I'm really not looking forward to the playoffs. Basically, Josh Allen's my only hope in the playoffs this year. Although, we'll see what Baltimore does. Right now, they're seeded to have to play Pittsburgh, and they can't beat Pittsburgh. Mike, I want to get your take on this Chiefs-Panthers game, though.
I mean, it's just getting ridiculous at this point. The Chiefs, they keep finding ways to win, even against a horrible Panthers team. Horrible. It's ridiculous at this point. Like, they are one of the worst 10-1 teams I've seen in a long time. There's nothing that really scares me about the Chiefs, besides the fact that, you have Patrick Mahomes, and Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs turns into Superman. So, that's one reason why you should fear them. But, I mean, as a team overall, what do they really do that well? They're barely winning games week by week. Every single week it's a 3-point game, or they block a field goal, or, they'll get a touchdown at the very end. They just sneak away. There's nothing that's showing me that the Chiefs are that dangerous right now. And there's no reason that you only beat, on a last-second field goal, the awful Panthers by 3.
Yeah.
I know that Bryce Young is, he's looked better since he came back. So I think it's good that he actually sat. He looks a lot better since he came back. It looks like it kind of lit a fire under his ass. So that was probably good for him and his future. It seems like that's kind of what's going on in the NFL right now. Rookie quarterbacks are getting sat and put back in. So good for him. Glad that he looked good, but the Chiefs are just aggravating. This is just what they do. They're just coasting at this point. They're on cruise control, and they're just waiting until we get into the playoffs, and then Mahomes is going to turn into Mahomes 2.0, and it's going to be another Chiefs Super Bowl, and it's going to be the same old story. And unfortunately, we're going to have to watch it all over again. It's like Groundhog Day.
Oh, it so is. I'm glad you brought up the whole Bryce Young getting sat situation, because it seems to have helped him. And this is the thing right now with young quarterbacks, is they're expected to be able to start day one. Tom Brady talks heavily about how he thinks that's a bad thing. Like, quarterbacks should be able to sit behind a veteran, learn the game, because it is different from college football. Like, you are asked to do a whole lot more in the NFL at the quarterback position. And frankly, they're just throwing these young quarterbacks into the deep end and then not having the patience to let them be bad. Because here's the thing people don't really talk about. John Elway was terrible as a rookie. Peyton Manning was terrible as a rookie. It just is the way that it is. And the fact that people get surprised when their confidence gets broken. It just like, yeah, you're pulling them. You're not really surrounding them with good supporting casts. Like, at the end of the day, there's a reason that teams are picking these quarterbacks so high. They're not very good football teams. So it would stand to reason you're going to have to take your lumps. Caleb Williams has had to take his lumps in his rookie year. He's started to turn a corner. With Thomas Brown calling the plays, he's looking good. Like, they're not losing games because of Caleb. Are they winning them because of him? No, they're not winning games at all. But it's not really to do with Caleb's performance. It's the coaching. But I'm going to quit talking about my Bears. We've got to talk about another quarterback who is due up for some money and who didn't play for the 49ers. I'm talking, of course, about Brock Purdy. And wow, the 49ers look just awful without him. The question has always become like, oh, what is Brock going to look like without this person? What is Brock going to look like without this person? What do you look like without Brock? Because that was an abysmal performance against the Green Bay Packers. Like, Kyle Shanahan got absolutely worked by his fellow former Washington assistant in Matt LaFleur, the little Shanahan tree that they both come from. I want to get your take on this, Mike. What do you do in, the 49ers situation if you're John Lynch? What do you do moving forward? Because it does feel like a little bit of a lost season right now.
Well, you back up the Brinks truck for Brock Purdy. That's what you do. Now, a wise person once told me, your value's not shown when you're there, it's shown when you're not there. And clearly, when Brock Purdy is not there, that is not the same San Francisco 49ers. When is the last time you remember them looking that bad and getting beaten that badly? It's unreal. Brock Purdy, I've been saying for a while now, and at the very beginning, I thought he was a little hyped up, but for the last 2 years, I've been on the Brock Purdy train. They've been calling him a system quarterback. Listen, they called Tom Brady a system quarterback. How'd that work out? Went to Tampa Bay, won a Super Bowl. So I don't want to hear that anymore. The guy knows how to run that offense. He's really good at it. He scrambles out of the pocket when he needs to. He's a great quarterback, and he needs to start being treated like that. He needs to get paid like that.
Oh, yeah. No, there's no doubt about it. Brock Purdy, to me, you just have this great example of a very experienced college player. Like, I'm pretty sure he started 4 or 5 years, kind of similar to Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, who are enjoying some very good success. Jaden Daniels, not so much. That's more of Cliff Kingsbury. But like with Brock, you get this just really excellent processor, and he has absolutely every tool above the shoulders that you need to play quarterback. Yeah, he's not the most athletic guy. He doesn't need to be. Like, people always say throwing over the middle of the field is like the most dangerous area for a young quarterback. He annihilates throws to the middle of the field with precision, with timing. And that is something that, you really do need with a Kyle Shanahan offense. And when you don't have that timing, when you don't have that precision, it's bad. It is not good. Like, we see it with the Dolphins when Tua is out.
Yes,
like another Shanahan system with Mike McDaniel. They are horrible without that really accurate timing-based quarterback. So what if he's a system quarterback? In my opinion, Jalen Hurts is a system quarterback. It's just a different type of system. Like what are we talking about here? Let's talk a little bit about people who are the system. They are the system for their teams. The MVP race is getting hot, and I quite love it. We have got some front runners between Lamar Jackson, Saquon Barkley, and Derrick Henry. And there are still, some other key players that have arguments. Jared Goff is still right there. Josh Allen is right there. As of right now, I'm still going to go with Lamar. Like, he is having an objectively better year than he did last year, and he won the damn MVP. He's leading in a lot of essential quarterback stats, and he is so critical to that Ravens offense. But in the same breath, Derrick Henry is very, very critical to that Ravens offense, and he is having one of his best years. It has been impressive to see. And Saquon Barkley, look at him go behind that objectively better Eagles offensive line and just tear it up. Mike, I don't know who's going to go with the MVP. We still got plenty of football left to play, but these three seem like the clear leaders. I don't know if I'm just talking out of my ass, but it seems like those three.
No, I've been on the Lamar train the entire year, but right now it's time to show Saquon Barkley some love. He is rushing for right now. I think he's at like 1,400 yards.
That's
and last week he broke Shady McCoy's record with 300 all-purpose yards. He just looks unstoppable out there. He's had an incredible season, and I think the last time an MVP was won by a running back was Adrian Peterson. I mean, he had the 2,000 yards rushing. So Saquon is on target for that. He's got 6 more games, and he is absolutely probably going to hit that. And I think we need to start giving some love to him. I do. I think I'm actually saying right now he is the front runner over Lamar, because Lamar's kind of slipped up the last few weeks. He hasn't done anything spectacular. His team lost a game to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Saquon's, they're rolling in Philly right now. They're absolutely steamrolling teams. Take Saquon off Philly right now.
Oof.
He's half their offense. They've had their wide receivers that have been injured half the year in and out. Devontae Smith didn't play again. And this guy just goes out there and gets 70-yard touchdown runs. If he makes one move, he kind of reminds me of Jonathan Taylor a couple years ago. He'll make one cutback move and he's gone. He's gone. I'm telling you right now, the Giants gave the Eagles a Christmas gift. So for this Christmas, they should just say, Merry Christmas, thank you for Saquon, because they are absolutely a different football team, especially behind that Eagles offensive line. So I'm going Saquon Barkley all the way now. I'm on the Saquon Barkley train. I am so tired of the MVP being all about quarterbacks, and I am endorsing Saquon Barkley for the rest of this year.
Absolutely, I love it, and it's gonna be interesting to see, because the unfortunate thing about Lamar's MVP campaign is that he faces the Pittsburgh Steelers towards the end of the year twice, and the Ravens don't play the Steelers well. They just don't. The Steelers have Lamar Jackson's number in the weirdest way.
Yeah, and
there is so much recency bias, and what have you done for me lately with these end of year awards? You have to finish strong if you're going to be the MVP. And Saquon is having his best games late, and it's been so great to see. And like, we're going into cold weather games in Philadelphia. They're going to be running the hell out of the ball, and it's going to be fun to see. I love my running backs. You know me. I'm from Chicago. I love my running backs. It's that old style football. I like a snow game where we're just running the rock all over the place. Now, we've got to talk about another award and then shift a little bit into kind of a duality. We're going to do a coaching check-in. First, we're going to talk about who are the coaches that we have been really impressed by and who we think is a strong coach of the year candidate. I will start with Jim Harbaugh. Now, yes, he got absolutely worked by the Ravens, but like, the Chargers are right there. They never were going to be even in conversation with a team like the Ravens going into this year. And Jim Harbaugh has that team playing so differently than they ever have. It's been that defense has been unbelievable. You might have the coach of the year and you might have the assistant of the year. The problem is, do you go DC or OC? Because Greg Roman's offense, not too bad. That is not too bad.
Justin Herbert.
Oh,
he
man.
has looked like the old Justin Herbert. Jim Harbaugh has completely motivated that man and made him believe in himself again. It's pretty cool to see.
It really goes to show you like how big of a thing coaching really is. And my Chicago Bears need to like take some notes, because the Chargers went out. They got the top candidate of the cycle. They spent big money, and it's working very well for them. They are seeded to make the playoffs and possibly make some noise in a really beat up AFC. Like, the top of the AFC is just kind of beating the crap out of itself.
I wouldn't want to play that team right now. That defense looks great. I would not want to play them in the playoffs.
They're doing such great things. Now, who is your coach of the year so far?
I'm looking at Todd Bowles. I just think that Tampa Bay team, no one expected them to do anything this year, and Baker's looked good all year. They slipped up a little bit the last few weeks. It's going to happen. They lost Chris Godwin for the year. They just got Mike Evans back, but they still are just playing good football. So I think Todd Bowles, we need to give him some credit, and he's doing a great job over there in Tampa. Because I don't think you could ask anybody if they thought that Tampa Bay was going to do anything this year at all, especially with how it's looked and what they've been dealing with. So the fact that he's held that together the way he has, depending on how they finish the season, these 6 games, if they get into the playoffs, I think he absolutely needs to be considered, because it's a masterful job by him to keep this group going.
No, it's been really impressive to see. And now we got to talk a little bit about the other side of it. We got to talk about some coaches that we think are doing a terrible job and will be in the market for most likely a lower position in 2025. Which coaches are on the hot seat? I'll get the obvious one out of the way. Matt Eberflus needs to be fired. And I hope that the McCaskies finally break tradition and fire a head coach mid-season once the Bears get completely blown out by the Lions Thanksgiving morning. Ideally, that will have already happened by the time this episode has come out. So, to future me, I hope you're celebrating that Matt Eberflus just got fired. And I really am looking forward to either Ben Johnson or Thomas Brown. I'd be fine with Thomas Brown being promoted internally because of the job he has done with the offense. Like, what a night and day switch from Shane Waldron's complete ineptitude. And yeah, I'd be good with, I'd be great with Ben Johnson. I don't think it's going to happen. The McCaskies are way too cheap and they don't do that kind of thing. I'd be so fine with Thomas Brown being promoted internally at current moment, because Caleb is not looking like a scared, like nervous wreck in the pocket that's holding onto the ball too long and has no idea what he's looking at. He's now looking at the field and making plays on the run. And he has a coach that is believing in him, who is telling him in the fourth quarter when they're down 2 scores against the Vikings, go be Superman. And he does put his team in a position to win. And then Matt Eberflus's defense completely sells out at the end of the game. And that was complete coaching failure, because they were playing off-ball, soft zone when they needed to prevent a field goal. Like, yes, the offense went 3 and out in overtime. That's not good. But in the same breath, you don't play soft, like off man, and let them just pick up this slow lurching drive to kick a field goal and end it. It's ridiculous. Now, I'll go to another coach that I think is probably on the hot seat, less deservedly so, and I think that wherever he ends up going will get a good coach. It's just an inept organization. I'm talking about Brian Daboll. The Giants are a complete disaster. I think Joe Schoen has been one of the more incompetent GMs. He gets a lot of credit for what he was able to do with a really horrible cap situation that he had inherited. But in the same breath, the 2022 Giants season was so fluky, and it's so obvious now that the complete lack of good free agent and draft moves has just been a clear indictment of Joe Schoen's ineptitude. And the sad part is that a good coach in Brian Daboll is going to take the fall for it and end up going to a place that is probably a better situation and he will succeed and thrive in. And that's awesome. Sucks for the Giants, especially Giants fans, because I know what it's like to have an inept organization. I've had one my whole life. It's been great. Who is your, coach or coaches on the hot seat? Maybe one that deserves one, maybe one that doesn't.
I do Mike McCarthy right now. I heard that Jerry's thinking of bringing him back, but what are you thinking? Why? This Dallas Cowboys team, I can't remember every year at least they make the playoffs and we get a little excited and then they lose, but this has been abysmal. This is pathetic right now, what's going on over there in Dallas, and they have quit on that. Micah Parsons came out and said that there are players on that team that work harder than Mike McCarthy. When your star player is coming out and saying these kind of things, there is turmoil in Dallas, and they have to do something over there with him. But I guess Jerry's like, hey, maybe I'm going to bring him back. I don't think you have to cut ties with Mike McCarthy. This has to be, if they get blown out to the Giants, You imagine that tomorrow?
No,
Lose to the
gosh.
Giants. If they lose to the Giants and he's not fired in the next hour after that game, then Jerry Jones needs his head checked. Because I'm sorry, I never even liked the Mike McCarthy signing. I didn't think he was that great in Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers carried that team when he was there. So I've never been a big Mike McCarthy guy. It doesn't seem like
It was Rodgers and the defense that carried it. He had nothing to do with it.
He got all the glory, and that's why he got this job. But he's never been good since he's gotten there. He's not good under pressure, and he's been god-awful this year. So definitely Mike McCarthy is one. And I'll tell you who else. Doug Peterson in Jacksonville. What a turnaround. 8-3. Looking like they were going to win the AFC last year. And then this year, 2-9. 2-9. And they just look lost.
You were looking at potentially the Jaguars having the first overall pick themselves 3 out of the last 5 years. That's horrible.
That's horrible. And they're not doing anything with it. And Trevor Lawrence, he is nothing special. He's not. He's nothing special. The guy can't stay healthy. And then you go and get a backup in Mac Jones. Trust me, you want to talk about Mac Jones with me? We can talk about Mac Jones. Because I heard everyone saying, oh, he's going to play now. He's going to resurrect his career. Get the frig out. Get out of here. That's not happening.
Oh, but remember the 2021 Patriots, though? Wasn't the 2021 Patriots such a fun day, though? That was a good time.
Yeah, when he walked out like he was Superman after the draft, that was great. And then he came into the season, he looked great. He stood up against Tom Brady in Foxborough, Gillette Stadium. He went toe-to-toe. We would have won if we didn't hit the freaking field goal.
Oh, my God.
Could have hit that clanked in the rain. He had a great game that game. Listen, he had a great first year. I feel like it's Space Jam with him. Someone grabbed a football that he did at the same time, and he lost all his powers. That's what happened. That's all I can explain at this point. I remember him being in the Pro Bowl the first year, doing the gritty in the end zone. I'm like, I got my quarterback for the next 15 years. And then what happens? He goes out the next year, gets hurt, sucks, throws the worst interceptions I've ever seen in my life. So for the Jacksonville Jaguars to go and get that bum and think that that's going to help that organization, it's embarrassing. And Doug Peterson deserves to get fired just for that move alone. I'm so tired of hearing about him.
Doug Peterson deserved to get fired after saying, yeah, the culture has to change. Dude, that's what you do. You're the coach. That's your job.
Look, what Jim Harbaugh is doing, like we talked about, he had changed the culture in LA. And now they're winning football games, and he's empowering his quarterback. Doug Peterson is doing the exact opposite. He is not empowering that quarterback or these quarterbacks. And just, where's ETN? Where's Travis? Where is he play? Like, how's he playing? Where's he at? Where is anybody on Jacksonville to be 8-3 last year and 2-9 right now? I just think Doug Peterson needs a wake-up call, and he needs to maybe be out of the NFL for a little bit, maybe take an assistant coaching job. Because he is a good coach. He's just not a good head coach.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's gonna be an interesting coaching cycle because, you know, you've already got some interim head coaches in there, and those aren't always the vacancies that end up being filled. Antonio Pierce is kind of unique in that situation, being an interim coach promoted to head coach. We got to talk a little bit about the week that will be. Of course, week 13 coming up. Most of these Thursday games will be over and done with. So hopefully we can give you a little bit of light on what will have already happened. The Bears are going to get annihilated in Detroit. First thing in the morning. I can't wait to wake up at 10 a.m. and watch absolute heartbreak. Because the Lions are hanging 50 on absolutely everybody. I don't think they're going to stop now. Then you got the Giants and the Cowboys. Toilet bowl of all Thanksgiving games. That'll be, gosh, it's tough sledding.
Horrible Thanksgiving games. Horrible.
Tough sledding for the morning on Thanksgiving. The games, well, while you're waiting for all the sides to get ready and while you're having to talk to your family still before food is in their mouths, are bad. So best of luck. Dolphins and Packers is the evening game. That's at least relatively fun. That you're getting at least a fun offense with Tua back and looking.
Yeah, now that Tua's back.
It's so. We talked about it earlier. It's so unbelievable how different that team is with and without him. And then you got the Packers, where Defense is carrying a quarterback who's throwing a lot of picks. What's new? It's the Packers. The only reason that Aaron Rodgers was different was because he didn't throw the picks. But Brett Favre, Jordan Love, it's interchangeable to me. Both awful. Both Packers. I hate it. Raiders and Chiefs kicks it off on Friday. That's going to be just, Raiders will keep it weirdly close, and then the Chiefs will kick a field goal, touchdown, and walk it off. That's how it's going to go. Jacksonville is going to get annihilated by the Texans, who need a get-back game, and this is perfect for that. Colts and Patriots, it depends on what Colts you get. Every week is something different. It's a Jekyll and Hyde. Patriots, of course, season's kind of over, packing it in, so you do hope for a higher draft spot. You never want to tank, but you got to take it into consideration.
I just need to see Drake May keep doing well. That's it. Just keep progressing. Stop taking so many turnovers, because right now he has 11 turnovers since he came into that lead in the league right now. So you just got to, Drake, clean up the turnovers. You're fine. You're a stud. And you are the future. You are not a Mac Jones. You are your own man.
Right now, the Patriots need to get a higher draft pick so that they can get Will Campbell. Unfortunately, the Bears need to get a higher draft pick so that they can get Will Campbell. I am in a state of complete and utter conflict. But my Chicago Bears ain't winning another game. They got to play the North and the Niners are still a tough outing for an inept football team. Let's talk about the Chargers and Falcons. That's going to be that's going to be a good one. That's a good matchup. The Falcons are not dead yet. They're still very much a tough out. Chargers are the streaking team for sure. It'll be a good one to watch. Seahawks and Jets. Seahawks going to blow that one out. Commanders and Titans. This one is interesting because the Commanders are sliding almost a free fall. Titans have been playing tough football games. They just upset the Texans. Give me the Titans. Give me the Titans on that one. Cliff Kingsbury can't coach.
Yeah, give me the Titans. Will Levis is figuring it out a little bit. Give me the Titans. They're riding a little hot streak.
Will Levis is looking good. Brian Callahan's starting to figure it out there in Tennessee. Don't look now. Steelers and Bengals. Bengals can't figure it out. Do look now. The Bengals
they gotta win.
Not figure it out. Give me the Steelers.
Bengals. Give me the Bengals.
Really?
Yes. Joe Burrow's playing the best football of his life. They got to win this one. They're winning this one. They should have won so many games. They shouldn't. They are one of the best They're the opposite of the Chiefs. They're a good football team with a bad record.
They're a good offense with a horrible defense.
Yeah, the defense is bad. But Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are putting up historic numbers right now. Joe Burrow is playing the best football of his career. So I feel bad for him because I love Joe Burrow.
I feel horrible for Joe Burrow. He's having a career year. He's having, honestly, one of the best quarterbacking years that you can have, and it's being completely squandered. I will stand by the fact that if the Bengals had a better record, Joe Burrow would be in the MVP conversation.
100%. When the Ravens played the Bengals, they have the same stats.
Oh,
Lamar and him. Exactly, and they almost won
there.
That game. Both games against the Ravens, they almost won, and they lost. And then they shouldn't have lost to the Patriots week 1. That's what got their season off to a shitty start. And then
Zach Taylor needs to be on the hot seat. Can we say it?
Okay, I could say that. Yeah, absolutely. Because of the slow starts every year after year, slow start. So and absolutely, he needs to be on the hot seat. And the defensive coordinator.
What the hell happened to Lou Anarumo? That's awful. They do need a new staff over there because
stop a nosebleed.
No, it's awful because they have a really great pass rusher in Trey Hendrickson, and you have one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league in Joe Burrow, and he's going to be there for a while because he is young. He is just getting started, and it's being completely wasted on a guy who benefited from 2 generational players and Brian Callahan. That's the thing. I don't see how Zach Taylor really brings anything to the table. That's why I think that the Steelers are going to come out with it, because when it's a division matchup, it comes down to the coaching, and Mike Tomlin is a way better coach than Zach Taylor for me. Cardinals and Vikings.
Who are the Minnesota Vikings? Are they a good team?
Well, who are the Cardinals? Are they a good team? That's also the question.
It's the same story for both teams. Sam Darnold. What Sam Darnold are we going to get, and what Kyler Murray are we going to get? We don't know. They are very, very inconsistent, both of those teams. So one team could blow out the other. It could be close. We have no idea.
That's such a big old question mark. That's a Yeah, that's a parlay ruiner. Don't
touch that.
I don't know anything about that game because the Cardinals could win that so easily, and the Vikings could suddenly remember that they're the team that was blowing teams out early on in the year. But we'll find out. Rams and Saints. Rams are gonna run through the Saints. The Saints are dead. Saints are dead in the water. I don't think there's anyone that's gonna argue that. That's like.
Yeah, the Saints, they started the year so hot. And then
remember the week 2 2024 Saints? They're going to be saying that. Remember the week 2 2024 Saints? It was historic. The last time it had happened, they had won the Super Bowl.
The greatest show on turf was happening all over again, like Kurt Warner back in the day. I was like, wow. And then they came back down to earth with injuries and all that good stuff. So sucks, but the Saints are done.
Rams, give me the Rams all the way. Bucks at Panthers. Panthers look good. Bucks are better. Bucks are a better team. I can't go against it.
Give me Baker. Give me Baker all day.
Give me Baker. 49ers and Bills. No, Bills are a buzzsaw right now, and the 49ers cannot figure it out. If Brock plays, it's maybe a different game, but if Brock's not in there, Bills by 30.
Yeah, it's a blowout. If Brock doesn't play, that's it. That's the difference.
Browns at Broncos. Broncos look so good. That defense is unbelievable. Yeah. Their offensive line is
has figured it out this year.
Bo Nix is he's the offensive rookie of the year, in my opinion, right now. The way the season's going, and the way that seasons for Cliff Kingsbury have gone in the past, I don't think it's going to be Jaden Daniels' award to lose anymore. I think it's going to be Bo Nix's to lose.
I think the guy's only got like 1 fumble and 2 picks since like week 2.
Yeah, there was some cherry picked stat that I saw that was like there's only been 5 quarterbacks that have had a 10-game stretch with 20 or more touchdowns and 2 or less turnovers. Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Peyton Manning. There's one other that I think it was Marino maybe, and then Bo Nix.
What a list! That's a list.
That's good company. That's good company. Let's talk a little bit in depth about what seems to be the most important game of the week. Eagles at Ravens. This is fascinating on so many levels to me because the Eagles holding on to the lead in the NFC East. I think they've got a 2-game or 3-game lead, 2.5-game lead on the Commanders now. Baltimore Ravens at 8-4 are still looking up at the Steelers. They can't really make a mistake for the rest of the season if they want to win the AFC North. They still have a really great path to the playoffs without that. Like, I think they're still like 80 or 90% chance of making it, regardless of if they win the division or not. But they kind of need this game a little bit. They need a little bit of a get-back game. It was close against the Chargers, and they were expected to maybe handle business a little bit cleaner in that. They have the Giants, which is an easy game, but then they play the Steelers again. So this is one of their last, big games of the season that kind of will separate them from, all right, are you just coasting on a good record to the playoffs, or are you like a legit contender in this? This is a big old prove-it game. And then the Eagles, they keep on having to have prove-it games, and I feel so badly for saying it. But in the same breath, they have, faltered against better competition. And sometimes they've faltered against not so better competition. That being said, they're 9-2. Like, you can't argue the results here. They do need to kind of put a stamp on this game, because if they beat the Panthers, that's not a shock. If they beat the Steelers, that's a good, it's a good win, not a great win. Commanders, they'll do that. The Commanders are falling apart. Cowboys, they'll dog walk them. Giants, dog walk them. This is another one where it's kind of their last big game to say, hey, we're gonna make some noise in the playoffs, because out of conference, this is an unfamiliar opponent. You got to bring your A game every single time.
Yep.
I've gone back and forth on this. All I know is there's gonna be a whole lot of running the football, and I'm excited for it. Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley. This is the other thing. It's the MVP Bowl. Like, this is the exciting part. This is the MVP Bowl, because you have Lamar, you have Derrick Henry, you have Saquon Barkley. Time to find out, I guess. It doesn't
Yep.
often, you don't often get this type of situation where MVP frontrunners are facing off against each other. Yes, I know they're all on offense. Whatever. I don't care. There's still a storyline there. And if there's anything we know about awards and sports writers, they love storylines so much. I've gone back and forth on this a couple times. I think I'm leaning towards the Eagles. I could be talked out of it. It depends on what you got to say here, Mike.
Give me the Eagles.
Ooh, there it is.
And I was one who kept saying the Eagles are going to lose games, and because of last year, they were 10-1, and then they fell apart. But this is a different team this year. Saquon Barkley has completely changed that team around. They've just been on a roll lately, and the Ravens have kind of faltered a little bit. They didn't pull away from the Chargers until the very end. So I just think the Eagles are going to pull this one out. I know that it's in Baltimore, so that makes it a little difficult because that is a very tough environment. So that is one reason why I think the game will be close. But I still think that the Eagles are just figuring it out right now. And they can't slip up like last year, because then the doubters and people like us are going to start questioning them again, and they know that. So that's why every single game is a statement game for them, because they have to show that they've learned from last year. Because you went from 10-1 to losing 6 out of your last 7 and getting blown out by the Bucs. So they can't let that happen this year. Lamar, he's gonna be Lamar. It's gonna come down to, can they contain Derrick Henry? If you can contain Derrick Henry, you'll win the football game. If you can't, it's gonna be a hell of a day. But I still think the Eagles are gonna win it. I just think that there's too much going on right now in Philly. The momentum is all in their favor, and I think they've gone behind that coach again. I don't hear any more doubt right now from Philly, which is good, and they want to keep it that way, because one bad game and they're going to be, oh, fire Sirianni, fire this person, fire. That's just how Philly is. It's a big-time football city, so I get it. Listen, my roommate's from Philly. Last year was tough to watch the way that it ended, and I'm hoping this year that it goes better for them, because my Pats are out of it anyway, so give me Philly, go Birds.
There you go. The big thing for me in this one is the Ravens defense, because, wow, they're missing Mike McDonald in the worst way in Baltimore. That defense looks like a shell of itself, and they're not going to be able to do a damn thing about Saquon Barkley. I fully agree with you on that. I think Saquon's going to have another unbelievable game, and as good as Derrick Henry and Lamar are, they just aren't going to be able to keep up in that kind of a shootout, because those home run hits that Saquon will just tear and make you have to get right back on the offense, or get the offense right back on the field. It sucks, because you're like, God, we just did a drive and now we have to go score again because he just ran 70 yards and barely used any time.
Yeah.
So this is going to be fun. This is going to be a really fun game.
It'll be a good game. It's one of the good ones.
I love it. That is going to cover all of our Week 13 games. We went through all of them just because why not? It's a fun Thanksgiving slate if you're into, weird, awkward games, because there's a lot of games where I'm like, hey, that could be a scoregami. It's that type of Thanksgiving week where it's just going to be weird, and I love that stuff. But we get treated to Eagles and Ravens in the middle of the afternoon on Sunday, which I don't understand fully. The primetime games are Bills and Niners, which that looked better at the beginning of the year, and then you got Browns and Broncos are going to keep on rolling. That's just the way that it is. This is the better game. Afternoon slate, tune into it. Make sure you tune into these shows as well. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you hit that like button, because it helps us out so much. Follow us on all the platforms, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, like you name it, we're on it. Just talking about sports. It's great. Come hang out with us. It has been great hanging out with you, Mike, in the Gridiron segment. Until the next time, I have been Kyle. That has been Mike. I will never get that right. Not one time. Peace.
Later.